This is a horse called On the Road Again. Last March, he raced in the 15-degree spring coal of Western Canada. But in winning at the Northlands, he posted no sub-2-minute miles. His Canadian owners then took him south to the big stakes race in the United States, where he captured several titles and now has won over $1.6 million. Today, Canadian racing fans welcome him home to Edmonton, where he'll race for the top prize in the richest horse race ever held in Canada, the Breeders' Crown on ESPN for 3-year-old Colt Pacers at the Northland Park, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, coming up next. Welcome to the Northlands here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the northernmost horse racing track in the Western Hemisphere, geographically 600 miles north of Billings, Montana. Hello again, everybody, and welcome indeed to another one of our exciting races here on the British Crown. The Breeders' Crown will have the 4th race coming today out of 8 of the series, and this one could be the most glamorous of them all. This is the 3-year-old Colt Pacers. Working with me again, as usual, is our host for the Down the Stretch, the weekly horse racing feature on ESPN, is Sharon Smith. And Sharon, when you look at these 3-year-old Colt Pacers, indeed, this is a glamour division that people really love to watch.
Well, it's gotten that reputation because the way the sport is developed, the fastest standardbreds of all have most years been the 3-year-old pacing Colt. Some years there's an aged horse that'll get in there with a better record, but these are the speed balls of the entire standardbred world. And this year it's especially interesting because there's tremendous depth, and not just competitive, but these are horses of great, great quality.
We have already looked, of course, at On the Road, but there are 11 that you feel have an excellent chance, including, of course, the name that jumps out, Guts.
Well, most of them you can't eliminate. There's a couple that are real outsiders, but we look at Guts, who's a horse that's raced many times this year, started very early in the winter in New Jersey and has won a lot of races, won a lot of money, and he is a top horse. But you look at a horse like Present Laughter, who's won so much, we can't reject him. On the Road Again, well, everybody knows about him, certainly in Edmonton, Alberta right now.
That is the thing that we want to talk about is the hometown flavor of On the Road, and that makes him very much of a favorite here, racing right here at the Northlands.
Well, he's a horse that's owned by a couple from Calgary, a little bit to the south of Edmonton. And On the Road Again, raced here at Northlands in the spring, raced well. They had no brilliantly fast times, but boy, when they shipped him south, he showed the folks in the United States something about pacing.
Well, winning over $1,600,000, it'll be one of the horses that, even though he has been racing here for the last few weeks, many of the horses had to be shipped in. How about transportation, Cher? Is this a problem with these horses?
Well, the standardbreds to begin with are fairly calm animals, so they take to shipping pretty well. Apart from that, they start to teach them how to ship when they're foals. They put them right on the van with their dams when the dams are sent off to be bred. They adjust to shipping. On the Road Again, maybe a tiny advantage because he's been here for a few weeks, but shipping doesn't count a horse out of a race.
I think you can plainly tell it is windy and it is quite cold here at the Northlands. How much will that affect the race? Of course, we'll bring you up to date on that with our track conditions a little bit later in the program. Before we go into the Breeders' Crown, we'll be taking a look at a $20,000 invitational race for some of the outstanding pacers here during their fall meet. Well, Kenny Rice, working with us as usual this week, talks to track announcer Larry Ross as they set the field.
Thank you, Sam. Larry, this is a big race today. It is a $20,000 invitational, the 8th race, some local horses in it, and it's a competitive field.
Very competitive. In fact, this is one of the best fields, I think, collectively, at putting the local horses together. And with Salute Hanover out of the Stuart Fraser elimination, it's going to be interesting because some of the horses in this field will play Catch Me If You Can. Cammie, Hanover, and Pollution, the 2 mares, as an example, they like to go in the front end. And I don't know, in the kind of weather conditions we have today, you may not catch them.
Now, in the morning line, the favorite is Monkey Wrench, but because this is an invitational, you have the better pacers on the grounds in this race, and so it's just about anyone's race.
Well, Monkey Wrench is a funny horse. In the Stuart Fraser elimination last week, he really didn't fire too well. Buddy Gilmour drove him, but the best situation for Monkey Wrench is a third-generation horseman by the name of Derek Wilson, a young guy, looks after Monkey Wrench. He's raced him here in Eastern Canada, in the U.S., and he gets along really well. If he has any shot whatsoever, if he's in a good position at the head of the stretch, he'll fire and he'll charge, and he might win it.
And with local horses, with local stables involved, you always have that rivalry also in a race.
Yes, you do, but I think the local stables are going to look at a horse like Salute Hanover today, who raced in the eliminations, the Autumn Gold last week. Didn't look good, though. At the 3/4, just before that point, he gained the lead and then packed it really bad and coasted all the way through the field and finished dead last. Something wrong? I don't know. Maybe it was just that day, but I think we'll find out.
Larry, with these quality pacers, can we get an idea of their time, what kind of time we can expect in the Breeders' Crown later?
Yes, I think so. These horses will probably go, I would think, pretty quick on a day like today, 56, 57, maybe 58. The track will be a second or two off with a little bit of rain last night, but I think the Breeders' Crown will go within a second, probably, of this field.
Larry, thank you. Look forward to your call. Now back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Kenny. So we're set for an exciting afternoon of racing here at Edmonton with two outstanding races on our Breeders' Crown. The Breeders' Crown of 1984 on ESPN is brought to you by hardworking Chevy trucks. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. And by McNichol. Some things speak for themselves. Outstanding 3-year-old Colt Pacers are here to go for the Breeders' Crown, but also some of the top drivers in the world. We'll take a look at those and more. We'll continue in a moment. Welcome back to Edmonton, Alberta, as we're just a few moments away from the Breeders' Crown and certainly the running of their regular scheduled 8th race here at the Northlands, and it should be an exciting afternoon. We've already mentioned some exciting horses that are here for the Breeders' Crown and also for that 8th race, but also some of the top drivers from around the world are here, including those that are going for over $8 million. That would be Bill O'Donnell, and he's already ridden 4 winners and could very easily be well on his way of winning that $8 million. Sharon, as we take a look at a list of some of those drivers that indeed are here, some of those guys have had an exciting time, and these, of course, are the Breeders' Crown field as they come up, and you'll see many of those top name drivers.
Well, you know, drivers and riders of running racehorses have always been a little bit different. The jockeys have always been sort of independent contractors going after their own mounts with the aid of an agent. In harness racing, the big names in the sport, the hot-uns, the dancers, and so on, have been the trainer drivers, and they have certainly in publicity dominated the sport. Catch drivers, those who actually do go around looking for rides from different trainers, have concentrated at the raceways. But nowadays, we're seeing a group of catch drivers of enormous skill who indeed do go and travel with the good horses. And that's what we're seeing today in Bill O'Donnell, John Campbell, and some of the others, these catch drivers who are very, very outstanding drivers, and the very biggest names are perfectly willing to hire them to drive their horses.
Well, due to the fact that so many of the trainers do drive their own horses, catch driving can be a little bit dangerous if you want to make a living. Well, one of the guys that's made a great living of it is a gentleman who hails from Canada. His name is John Campbell, and our man, Kenny Rice, who's working the paddock area, visits with this top catch driver.
John Campbell did not invent catch driving, but he has turned it into an art form. Since starting at the Meadowlands in 1978, he has won over 2,200 races, and during that time, over $25 million in career earnings. And John, when you first started at the Meadowlands, coming down from Canada in 1978 in the winter, what changes have you noticed in catch drivers in general and in the attitude of trainers towards catch drivers?
Well, it's becoming more of a specialized form, both the training and catch driving. Drivers are concentrating more on driving and giving up their stables, and trainers that used to drive are turning it over to catch drivers that drive every night with the feeling that they're out there every night and reflexes are a little quicker and they know the horses a little better, and they're just specializing in the two.
Often you'll pick up a mount of which you have not had a chance to see, not had a chance to race before. You're looking at the forms. What else are you looking for? Do you have a chance to talk to that trainer and find out what kind of race that should be expected from this horse?
Yeah, you always talk to your trainer before you go out, and he gives you an idea of what his opinion of the horse is, and depending on the trainer, sometimes you take his advice and sometimes you don't, and when the race unfolds, you can throw everything out the window a lot of times then, too. So but you have to go by the trainer a certain amount.
Now, today, you're going to be driving Present Laughter. This will be the 4th straight drive for you with Present Laughter. How much will you talk with trainer Howard Beisinger before you go out to race?
Well, not too much. Howard never gives driving instructions. He's a driver himself, and he knows what goes on out there. So Howard won't give driving instructions. He might tell me how the horse trained and how he acts today warming up, but that'll be about it.
Okay, thank you, and good luck, John.
Thank you very much.
John Campbell, catch driver supreme. He will be driving Present Laughter today in the Breeders' Crown.
Thank you, Kenny. Interesting note on John Campbell. This is his first time he's ever raced out here in Edmonton, so we'll see how well he does. Coming up is the 8th race, the $20,000 Invitational for most of the horses from the immediate Canadian area. And you see the number 2 horse, that'll be running out of post position number 1 is Monkey Wrench, who was the morning line and also is the favorite to go off as the leader here as we'll get ready for the 8th race, and we'll have the post parade when we return in a moment. Here at the Northlands in Edmonton, Alberta, it'll be one of those afternoons that the wind is going to play a big part, particularly down that backstretch. You see the winds 13 miles per hour. Have to believe they're even stronger than that at times. And the temperature right at 45 degrees. The track, however, as listed, is quite fast. There is a slight overcast. It breaks every once in a while, but again, mostly cloudy here in Edmonton. It's the 8th race. This is a mile for the Pacers, and most of these horses have had an outstanding fall run here at the beautiful Northland track, and it will be for 1 mile and the Pacers. The leader right now as far as the odds is concerned, the number 3 horse Monkey Wrench, but let's pick up the post parade. Number 1 is Roarin' Snorton, and Daryl Lightke will be in the bike, and the trainer is Dave Batten.
This horse is part of an entry with TARPORT MYRTLE, who we will see in a minute. Roarin' Snorton is a horse that is based in Canada, and he has raced quite well. He's won about $38,000 this year, generally placed. It seems like he wins most of his money finishing in the money in races. The other horse, also a strong part of that entry, a couple of good horses here. Bill O'Donnell, who is driving the other half of the entry, has certainly had a very good day. This entry should be interesting to watch in this race.
Well, the other half of that entry indeed is 1A, and that is TARPORT and MYRTLE. You see right there in the middle, and Bill O'Donnell, who has already won 4 races today. Dave Batten is the trainer, and again, Dave Davies is the owner of both 1 and 1A.
And probably as the horses get ready for this race, we'll have to be looking at some very outstanding horses. These are definitely locally based ones. We're also going to see a couple of horses who have raced elsewhere and have been doing a little bit of shipping here. This is Bill O'Donnell, who certainly has showed the folks at Northlands Park about driving today. What an outstanding driver he is. He has certainly proven it today.
Let's pick up the favorite now, the number 2 horse, and there is Monkey Wrench. You gotta love the name, as Derek Wilson is not only the driver but the trainer as well, and it's owned by the Broadroom stable area right here in the Calgary area.
And Monkey Wrench is a horse who is a major winner and has been throughout his racing career. This is a 5-year-old horse who more than earns his keep. So Monkey Wrench rightly among the favorites in the race today.
No. The number 2 post position, but the number 3 horse will be Salute Hanover, and Mickey McNichol, who comes out of the Bronx in New York, is the driver trainer.
And Salute Hanover is an extremely fast horse. He is the odds-on favorite, and rightly so. He paced himself a 52 and 2 mile at the Meadowlands on Hambletonian Day. Did not win that race, but boy, could have won a race virtually anywhere else that day.
Post position number 3 belongs to the 4 horse, and that'll be Flying Good. Rene Poulin will be the driver, and we'll see what this Canadian horse can do here.
And he hasn't been able to do much this year, only 1 win in his 7 starts, but he was a big winner as a younger horse at 3 and 4.
Post position number 4 belongs to number 5 horse. It's Pollution. And, of course, the veteran, 52-year-old Buddy Gilmour will be on the bike, trained by Mike Brady.
And Pollution is a mare. You don't see that many pacing mares try to compete against the male horses. Trotting fillies and mares do a little bit better. But Pollution has certainly got a good driver, and Buddy Gilmour, who's done well today as well.
Gary McQuaid will be in the bike behind the number 6 horse in the 6th post position. That'll be Cammie Hanover. Cammie Hanover is trained by Rod Campbell, owned by Rod Campbell, also Gary Hackney, Jim Martin, and Lois Mitchell.
And she is coming off a good win here at this track in which she finished in front of both Flying Good and Pollution, so we will watch her in this race closely too.
And the number 7 horse finally is Peter Wolf. John Campbell will be in the bike, and Brett Grandy is the trainer. You see him coming up. The gate is in motion. This is the 8th race, a $20,000 Invitational. Some of the top Canadian horses in their fall races here at the Northlands are ready to see what they can do about coming up with a victory here this afternoon in one of the top races we've got for you here at the Northlands in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Larry Ross, our track announcer, is the man who will be calling the races throughout the afternoon, and let's go to him for the call of the 8th race.
They're heading around the turn into the backstretch, coming up on the fair start pole as they enter the top of the backstretch. It's very cloudy, windy, and it's cool today, so I don't think it'll be too quick. They're entering the backstretch. I think you can expect a mile in somewhere about 1:58 this afternoon. And they're off the pace. From the outside, Roaring Starton moving quickly to the front. Monkey Ranch down to the inside. Then it's Salute Hanover third. Flying Good is fourth as they head into the first turn. Roaring Starton with the lead as they come around the turn. Monkey Ranch is second alongside the rail. Then it's Salute Hanover back third. Flying Good is fourth. Then Pollution is fifth. Cammie Hanover is sixth. And as they come around the turn, Peter Walfe seventh. And coming up in the quarter mile at the quarter pole 29. 4/5 as they come down past the grandstand. Roaring Starton down on the inside and moving quickly from the outside to take the lead is Salute Hanover as they head to the clubhouse turn. Salute Hanover the leader now, and Roaring Starton is second, Monkey Ranch is third, then Flying Good is fourth, then it's Pollution back fifth, Cammie Hanover down on the inside, then Peter Walfe from the outside as they round the turn, TARPORT MYRTLE trails. Coming up on the half mile, it's Salute Hanover at the half, 58 4/5 as they head into the backstretch. Salute Hanover with the lead. Monkey Ranch moves to the outside as they head down the backstretch. Roaring Starton now third along the rail. Flying Good is fourth on the inside. Pollution moves outside fifth. Cammie Hanover sixth along the rail. As they head on down the backstretch, Monkey Ranch has moved up on the outside alongside the rail. Salute Hanover as they near the 3/4 mile. Then it's Roaring Starton down on the inside as they come around the turn. Coming by the 3/4. Salute Hanover the leader. 3/4 mile, 1:29 as they round the turn. It's Salute Hanover from the inside. Monkey Ranch from the outside. Roaring Starton's third on the rail. Then it's Flying Good next. Pollution in the middle. At the head of the stretch, and they're driving toward the finish. Down on the inside, Salute Hanover. Here comes Monkey Ranch from the outside. As they come down the stretch to the finish, Monkey Ranch gaining the lead. Then Salute Hanover. Cammie Hanover closing ground rapidly on the inside and coming to the finish. It'll be close. And here they are. Looks like Cammie Hanover from the inside charged up along the rail. It opened up coming down the stretch, and I would think Cammie will be the winner in the photo finish. The mile, the time of 1:58 3/5 seconds.
Thank you, Larry Ross. Well, he called that time pretty well at 1:58 3. And what a trip by Cammie Hanover. Gary McQuaid came on the rail strong. It looked like it was Monkey Ranch, Salute Hanover all the way. But watch as Cammie Hanover on the rail here, Sharon, really comes on strong.
Well, Cammie Hanover, one of the three mares in the race, certainly did, and her driver, Gary McQuaid, urging her. And again, he's not hitting her. Don't think that she's being abused here. He's just keeping her mind on her business. And as she, outstanding finish by this mare. So there she goes, slipping through, getting a little tight there. He was lucky to have the room. Could have been a bad situation for him, but he did get through, and just in time, a neck winner. Cammie Hanover, unofficial, good pace by this nice mare.
Well, they expected quite a run here, and you see with the 1 mile pace, the unofficial time 1:58 3. Cammie Hanover once again in the bike. Coming on strong was Gary McQuaid, and as it was a run down the stretch with Salute Hanover and Monkey Ranch, but again, Cammie Hanover comes over to win the 8th race here at the Northlands in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Our Breeders' Crown is just around the corner as we've got a look at all of the top horses and all of the other activities surrounding the richest horse race ever in the history of Canada. It's here on the Breeders' Crown on ESPN, and we'll have it for you as we'll continue in a moment. Northlands Park, right here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, is the site for the 3-year-old Colt Pacers as the Breeders' Crown with our 4th race of the 8-race series. And it should be an exciting afternoon of racing for you as we're welcome to have you here in Northland in Edmonton. Canada has been very well renowned for pacing. As a matter of fact, it's made one of the strongest contributions in horse racing. Sharon Smith has a look at pacing here in the Edmonton area.
This 3-year-old Colt Pace in the Breeders' Crown Series is being held in Canada because pacing has been popular in Canada really for a century. In fact, during the time in the last century when everybody wanted trotters in the United States, there were pacers in Canada. Don Fleming is a retired racing writer for the Edmonton Journal, and pacing is very, very popular in this country, isn't it?
Well, it really has been. I guess there's been harness racing here since the turn of the century, really, when farmers would unhitch their horses from the plows and race down the country roads. But about 1912, there was a racetrack on the south side that they used to have occasional meets. And then it sort of died out, and thoroughbreds really took over. And I guess back in the 40s, there was only one standardbred in all of Alberta. And meanwhile, Manitoba and Saskatchewan, neighboring provinces here, had one-day meets at all the little towns all over the place, and people here got interested in it. And in 1961, an undertaker by the name of Bill Connolly, he was a real racing fan. He used to go to the races at Southside Park. He decided, well, he'd try to revive it. Well, it was a great thing whenever they did 100,000 in a night. But it started to grow rapidly, and with these major races like the Stuart Fraser, which now is the richest invitational race in all of North America with a $200,000 final, with those horses coming in and the big league drivers, it's really taken off now.
Pacing in particular, though, we don't see trotting races here.
We did have quite a few trotters here when Al Grillo used to be the racing manager here. He imported about enough for a couple of fields, but they're pretty cheap, and there's nothing worse than cheap trotters. They'd be jumping all over the place, and the fans didn't like it. And then we did have a couple of very good trotters at one time, but they didn't have any competition. They'd had a race against the Pacers, and they'd be given the one hole as sort of a compensation.
Well, we've certainly seen some wonderful pacers today. This is Don Fleming, who is the retired racing writer for the Edmonton Journal.
Well, 11 of those top 3-year-old pacers will indeed be going after a $500,000, with a $250,000 going to the winner. And you see some of the horses that will be listed here, including Guts, with Mickey McNichols in the bike. Guts currently right now is the odds-on favorite at 3-5, as some of the others, first of all, King Towner, 55-1 odds. Walter Hanover, the odds on that horse, 18-1. Present Laughter, you see the odds at 11-0. John Campbell making his first start here, one of the top Canadian drivers, and Guts again with the odds at the moment at 3-5. Some of the other horses in the Breeders' Crown field include Butler BG. Ted Wayne will be in the bike there. They feel this horse has a chance to come up and win, and it's a 30-1 shot that it will. However, Bill O'Donnell has already ridden 4 winners here this afternoon. Will be in the bike of Troublemaker, moving from Guts to Troublemaker, and that 6th horse is a 44-1. On the road again is the popular hometown favorite, Buddy Gilmour, the veteran, will be in the bike there, and the 7th horse is now the 2-1 favorite here in the race itself. BARMBRO Cadet with Doug Ackerman in the bike, number 8 horse, and the odds there are 99-1. Rounding out the field, Longfellow, the number 9 horse, the odds there are also 99-1, and the field entry of Holmes Hanover and also a Tax Credit, and they are listed with the 99-1 odds as well on those field entry. So that's a look at the top 11 horses that will be going for the 3-year-old and the pacers here this afternoon. Well, one of those men that will be in the bike will be Mickey McNichol, and he talks about how he expects Guts to run in this race with our Kenny Rice.
This is the 29th race of the season for Guts. He's been racing a long time, Mickey McNichol, but coming into today, he is coming off a big race in Lexington. He turned in a 1:52, his best time. How does he look coming into the Breeders' Crown?
He's as fit as he's been all year, Ken. He looks like he'll give a good accounting of himself.
In a race like today, we have a wind factor here, obviously. How much is cover going to play an advantage for a horse like Guts, who likes to cover and likes to come from behind?
I think it'll help a horse that comes off the pace like him if they get a legitimate pace, which 11-horse fields most time you do, and I think the wind will help him coming off the pace.
Now, Mick, you're coming from number 4 position today. How do you like that position in this field? It is a competitive field.
I wish he could be a little more inside, or even the second tier to follow somebody out, but not a whole lot you can do about it now, and just hope for the best.
A lot of people are saying, especially here locally, this is a race between On the Road Again and Guts. They have met before. Do you see it as a 2-horse race?
No way. No way. There's 11 of them in there, and I think just about a lot of them figure. Probably the 2 favorites are Guts and On the Road Again, but there's a lot of other horses in the race, plus you know, there's a point of getting a trip, you know, with that many horses. It's a little tough.
How do you think Guts will like a 5/8 track?
Oh, he'll be all right. He's been on it before.
How about yourself? Now, you have not raced on this course before. You got a lot of wind up here, but the track looks like it's in pretty good condition.
Track's fast, and I like a 5/8. I always do pretty good on them, and let's hope for the best.
Okay, good luck, Mickey McNichol, the driver of Guts in today's Breeders' Crown.
Guts, indeed, is one of the top horses to watch as the 3-year-old pacers will be here in Edmonton. Watch out for On the Road Again. They'll go heads up, and we'll have a look at more of this afternoon's race in a moment. Well, many of these horses that you're seeing here this afternoon as they're running for $250,000 is the top prize money. Winner for the dash for the cash, so to speak, with 11 of the 3-year-old pacers. And many of those horses had to be moved into this area, and transportation becomes a big problem. Well, Sharon Smith has been watching this problem in horse racing around the country, and she brings us up to date on how it's all done.
A horse that is a problem to ship is a racehorse in trouble, particularly in standardbred racing with the traveling grand circuit and the popularity of farm training. A good horse has to ride a lot of vans to get to the major races. It's important that the horse learn very early in life to cooperate with handlers in shipping, first on vans, then on airplanes. It's important for both his racing success and for his health and safety.
The main thing is that you have good personnel that know how to load horses and how to unload horses. And right here in this area, we've got a real good vanning system, and they're good, capable people. And another thing is having like good facilities, you know, loading ramps that are properly placed and easy to get the trucks in and out of, and chutes for the horses that, you know, in some way they're not going to slip or slide off the van.
By the time the horse is of racing age, he usually knows all about shipping, lessons that he probably received as a very young horse on the farm.
They take the time to teach him to load and unload. You know, they'll have a van there on the farm, and they'll school him and, you know, work with him that way, especially if they get one that they think he's going to be a real problem. They'll try to school him prior so that, you know, that he doesn't injure himself.
It's quite an operation. For example, when we ship our yearlings to Keeneland, we might as well be shipping them to Saudi Arabia for all the precautions we take. For example, piling bales of straw alongside. If there's a crack between the van and the loading ramp, you pile bales of straw to make sure that they can't get in that, find that crack. And they basically I don't believe they much like to be shipped.
Air transportation can be even more complicated since it's less familiar to the horse. These standardbreds are arriving in California from the east, and they are calmly accepting the transportation. Some horses have to be tranquilized for air transport, and many also require care to avoid impacted intestines.
They oil the horse, which is give him some oil to ensure that he does not get, his digestive tract does not get impacted. Horses have surprisingly enough, for an animal that big and that strong, they've got a very delicate digestive tract. So, and they get impactions, colics, and colic is a very devastating disease to a horse, and quite a few horses die from colic.
Some horses obviously ship better than others, and one who travels well has an automatic advantage in races away from his home base.
Well, we're still just a few minutes away, coming up once again from the start of the Breeders' Crown for the 3-year-old pacers. We have had a scratch on the race. We had 11 horses. Now the number 10 F horse, Holmes Hanover, has been scratched. The veteran said that horse is not ready to go this afternoon, and thus has been scratched out of the field of 11 for the $250,000 in top prize money. Well, there's a lot of butterflies starting to fly around in the stomachs of many of the drivers and certainly the horses as they get ready for the Breeders' Crown. And Kenny Rice has a special interview in this particular report.
Walton Hanover has been impressive as of late. Last month down in Lexington, he finished in a sub-154 twice, Sonny Dancer, and winning the Tattersall's pace. In straight heats, he finished his last race out third in a race against Guts and Panorama. It was a strong field. How does he look coming in now? I know John Simpson Jr. and everyone in the Simpson stable is real pleased with Walton Hanover's performance.
Yeah, he's in good shape right now. He shipped good and trained good. He warmed up good. Seems to be in real good shape.
Now, he's been out here working out on this track. How's things look for him? Does he like the track?
Seems to.
What kind of race are you expecting here today, Sonny? What kind of times are you expecting going against Guts, going against On the Road again?
Well, a lot depends on the wind factor. It's cold here, and the wind's real strong. It's kind of a tough thing to figure just how fast the race will go, but could go around 56.
Because of that wind factor, do you think a lot of people are going to try to go out early with their horses here today, because at times this wind can be vicious?
Well, that's true, but don't forget you have 4 trailers in here, and I kind of look for a lot of early speed in this race.
Who do you want Walton Hanover in this race, Sonny? How do you want to set him up?
Well, I'd like to be in front. Suit me fine.
Oh, not all the way.
Well, he's good in front. I don't really think maybe it'll work out that way, but it would suit me all right.
Now, On the Road Again is a horse who's he's raced just about everywhere in the lead and coming from the back. Now, basically, Guts likes the cover. Do you think he'll try it again today?
Oh, I kind of look for Guts to come from behind. On the Road Again, he can do it about any way. It doesn't really matter whichever way Gilmour decides to do it. He's a good colt.
Sonny, good luck to you and Walton Hanover.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Walton Hanover, by the way, you see the odds there of 10-1. It is Guts along with On the Road Again, 7-5. Guts' odds right now coming down from the morning line. It was listed as 3-1. And On the Road Again, as we pick up a further look at the odds there, 6-5 favorite to win here this afternoon. There are now 10 ready to go for $250,000 in the richest horse race ever in the history of Canadian racing. That'll be coming up on ESPN as we'll continue in a moment.
We're back at Northlands Park in Edmonton, Alberta, just about 10 minutes from post time of the 3-year-old Colt Pace. Some of the best race horses in North America involved in this one. And the two favorites, and the odds are changing, Guts and On the Road Again, who had quite a rivalry over the summer. On the Road Again on the lead, Guts coming from behind. Let's take a look now at an example of how these two horses race.
3/4 go in 1:25 and 2, and they're at the top of the stretch. On the Road Again now has taken the lead by 3/4 of a length. Longfella is now second toward the inside. Hobo's Willie is racing third. Guts is trying to make up ground on the outside, and Rustlin Scott, and they're nearing the wire. On the Road Again, put to a hard drive. Guts is closing relentlessly on the far outside. They hit the wire.
Guts beats On the Road Again. I think he deserves 3-year-old of the year honors. If On the Road Again beats us, he deserves it, and somebody else beats us, we'll let the other people decide.
They raced against each other 5 times, and he beat us 3 times, and we beat him twice. We beat him in the Meadowlands Pace going for $1.3 million in the Shelley Goodrow final. He beat us both each of the Oliver Wendell Holmes, and he was 4th in the Prix d'Été, and we were 5th.
So what you're basically saying then is that On the Road Again won all the important matchups.
That's right. When the money was down, he won them.
Well, they are interesting enough trying to downplay that rivalry between Guts and On the Road, but I don't think you can do it any longer because we're moments away. You see the way that the $517,000 will be divided today. 50% of that going to the winner, and the breakdown through the 5 places. But again, $250,000 plus going to the winner of this race today. The post positions will be announced, of course, and that means that the #1 horse will be King Tanner, owned by the LaRoche Stables out of New York. Rene Desgenot will be in the bike, while George Berkner is the trainer.
Well, this is a horse who's actually been based at the raceways rather than traveling with the Grand Circuit. At the Meadowlands over the summer, at Roosevelt more recently. He's won a lot of money because there is money to be won at the raceways, but he has not challenged these big horses on the Grand Circuit, so he is an outsider in this race.
Well, you heard from Sonny Dancer Jr. earlier about Walton Hanover. Walton Hanover will be in the post position #2, owned by the Gator Stables. And again, Sonny Dancer listed as the trainer and driver, even though it comes out of the John Simpson Stables.
This is a really good horse. He, like King Towner, is a son of Big Towner. This is a Pennsylvania bred. And while he has not won quite so many big races as the others, he did win the American National, which is a major race. He raced extremely well at Lexington. So Walton Hanover should not be ignored as we look at this list of extremely good horses. It's a very deep division this year, and he's among the best.
That'll be in post position #2. Post position #3 will be the #3 horse, owned by Jack Lana and Seth Rosenfeld. And in the bike for the first time here in Edmonton will be John Campbell, and the trainer is Howard Beisinger.
Present Laughter is a horse that's made an awful lot of money being placed in big stakes. The son of the great stallion, Most Happy Fella, who died just a year ago. Present Laughter, for example, last week finishing 3rd in the Peter Houghton Memorial at Roosevelt. That's a $380,000 race, and he only beaten a length, or about a length and a quarter for everything. He's a contender as well here. Another little bit generous odds on a horse of this quality, so we'll keep our eye on him as well. John Campbell certainly doesn't bring a horse back to the field. He helps him out.
Well, certainly one of the favorites is #4, the 4th position, Guts, owned by Stuart Garowitz, Harvey Swartz, and also Ralph Picaro. Mickey McNichol will be in the bike, and Barry Abrams is the trainer.
Guts is certainly one of the leading contenders here, and for a good reason. This is a horse who wins big, and he certainly has plenty of what his name says he has. He's been racing all year long, a lot of races. Hasn't seemed to hurt him. He's racing as well as ever, coming off a very good win in Lexington last week. And Mickey McNichol taking over the drive on him from Bill O'Donnell recently will help him as well. This is certainly one of the top horses here.
Post position #5, the #5 horse, Butler BG. Driver and trainer is Ted Wing, owned by Lawrence Kadich.
You know, this horse is currently 18-1, which is extremely generous for a horse of this quality. When the big names Gutson on the Road Again went north to Montreal about a month and a half ago now, he beat them all. So somebody might get a good bet on this horse. He's a very good horse. Finishing 4th last week in the Peter Houghton, but before that he'd won several races in a row at Freehold. And I don't think we should reject him either. What a deep division this is.
Post possession number 6 belongs to Troublemaker. Bill O'Donnell will be in the bike. Gene Regal is the trainer, and the owner is George Siegel.
And this is an extremely consistent horse, rarely out of the money. Owners love that. A son, again, of Most Happy Fellow, the famous stallion who died last year. He was the winner of that Peter Houghton Memorial, went in not getting an awful lot of support, and the combination of Bill O'Donnell having driven 4 winners already and a horse who apparently is at the top of his game, we should see a good race by him.
Well, one of the other favorites is on the road again. This is one of the local favorites indeed, George and Isla Rumpel from Calgary, Alberta. And Buddy Gilmour will be in the bike, and Harry Bolton is the trainer.
And $1.6 million so far for On the Road Again, a $10,000 weanling. And the people from Calgary invested that $10,000 well, because this horse has won $1.6 million in his racing career. He owns a record of 153-3 at the Meadowlands. He's raced twice this fall here and has won them both, and he's certainly on the top of his game.
Sure, there'll be 3 horses starting for the 2nd tier. In post position number 10 will be BARMBRO Cadet. Doug Ackerman is the driver trainer, and Richard Staley of Beverly Hills is the owner.
Talk about a horse that works a lot. 37 starts going into today for this horse. This is the only Ontario bred. He, too, is coming from Lexington, where his best finish was a 2nd place. He is an outsider here.
Number 9 horse will be in post position number 11. Again, that'll be in the 2nd tier. It's Longfellow. Tom Harmer, along with his wife, Debbie, are the trainer. Tom is the driver, and it's owned by Charles Day and the Sierra Stables.
2nd in the Peter Houghton last week, so he has raced with this quality horse and done pretty well. He won a couple of New York Sire Stakes races, which fattened up his bank account, which now stands at about $550,000. So he's certainly earned his way, too.
Last horse in the 11-horse field, post position number 9 in the 2nd tier, will be number 11. That's Tax Credit. Renee Poulin will be the driver, and Victoria Silverman and Renee Poulin are the owners.
This is a Big Towner colt. Big Towner, the sire of 3 of the entries today. And Tax Credit, too, has got a couple of wins at Roosevelt. He's not beaten the horses of this quality. And perhaps it's a little bit ambitious for him to be here. In fact, he's at 99-1. A lot of people think it's a little too ambitious for him.
Sharon, we watched him from high above the trap. However, Kenny Rice is down on the track. Let's go for a quick update before the race.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Holmes Hanover has been scratched, by the way, because after warming up on the track, he goes back to the paddock area, started coughing, and they decided not to go with him today. It'll be interesting to see. The race shapes up pretty well, it looks like, for On the Road Again and Guts to be battling it out when they come to the stretch, because On the Road Again can race from just about anywhere. Guts likes the cover. He will need that today because it is a very stiff wind down here. We will see if Butler BG goes out fast, and also Walton Hanover. Sam?
Well, we'll be back with the start of our Breeders' Crowd as the 3-year-old Pacers will go for $250,000 in winning prize money on ESPN. It's next. Don't go away. As the 11 horses get ready to pace with that $250,000 in prize money, $1 million overall, you see the current odds, 8-5 odds on Guts. That's one of the favorites here, the number 4 horse. Keep in mind, however, that the odds are ever changing so quickly, and the other horse that could be challenging for this, and certainly all of them have a shot on the road at 6-5. Those odds, Sharon, fluctuating almost as quickly as we can pass them on, and that makes it for quite an afternoon of racing here in Edmonton.
It's not surprising about Gutson On the Road Again how the fans would have a hard time choosing between them, but I think there's some awfully generous odds there on the board. A horse of the quality of Present Laughter being 34-1 is really something. But Guts On the Road Again being close to even money, certainly no surprise. Guts with his 14 wins and all that money, certainly you hate to bet against a horse like that. 152 at Lexington, that is the race he's coming off of. And you can't argue with that. That is speed on any track.
With an 11-horse field, as we take a look at Guts here, coming right off of the starter. Once that moves away, jockeying for position, I guess that has to be the one place that you'll have to make your advantage as you take a look at On the Road. Best finish at 1:53, July the 20th at the Meadowlands. And On the Road, I guess, really made a name for itself at the Meadowlands.
Well, indeed he did. You know, when he came south after racing in Canada, winning but no spectacular times, a lot of people did not take him seriously, but they had to with those spectacular finishes at the Meadowlands. This is a top quality horse, and he is minutes away from, for his owners, maybe the biggest race prestige-wise of the year for them. Certainly not the biggest money, but money's not everything.
Well, of course, as they get ready to go, let me mention for another time, as you take a look at On the Road, Bill O'Donnell is driving Troublemaker. A great crowd, by the way, here at Edmonton this afternoon, as this is the end of a week of royal racing, as they've called it. But Bill O'Donnell, if indeed Troublemaker should come on to win this afternoon, Bill O'Donnell would go over the $8 million mark in winnings. It is a cold, blustery winter day almost here, even though it's still fall. Wind down that backstretch. Sharon, how about the cold and the wind? How much effect will it have on the race today?
Well, they won't go as fast. They don't go as fast in the cold, but the horses, strangely enough, don't mind it very much. The drivers do. If you look closely at them, you see they're all wearing shirts underneath and gloves and so on. The horses, they really don't mind it. They're cold weather animals. They enjoy the cold weather, much prefer it to hot, humid weather, although it's unlikely that we'll see anything like a world record, which we might have if the weather's been a little different.
Well, as you see the gate unfolding, the horses will be pacing into position here in a moment, and number 4 will be Guts. Kenny Rice with a final comment before they get off and pacing here at Edmonton.
Well, this certainly is a big race for On the Road Again, because On the Road Again still in the running not only for 3-year-old of the year, but also Horse of the Year if he should win today. At least that's the way his camp feels about this race, and we'll see. It's coming up shortly. And again, it'll be interesting to see just how people pace themselves early in this race, because positioning is everything for these drivers, and positioning will be a factor because the wind is so much of a factor. As you can see, it's blowing strongly down here, Sam.
Well, On the Road Again, along with Fancy Crown and Annihilator, I guess one of the other candidates for that Horse of the Year. You saw Annihilator somewhat upset in our last of the activities we had for you in Pittsburgh. But now here we are at Edmonton, and we'll see what On the Road Again and Guts can do. As you see him pacing up to the gate, listen to the crowd as they start to get into it. This is for the Breeders' Crown, $250,000 going to the winner. All told, over $500,000, the richest race ever in Canada. And you've got it here on the Breeders' Crown on ESPN. Our track announcer, Larry Ross, will call it, as we'll see which one can come home with the big race today. Here's Larry Ross.
I would think it would be an understatement to say the track record for 3-year-olds, Colts of 157-1, will fall in this race. It's a question as to whether they can go in 54 with these weather conditions, but we will soon find out. They're entering the backstretch, and we're all set to go. Richest race in Canada. And they're off and pacing in the Breeders' Crown. And as they come away for the outside, Butler BG moving out. Guts alongside the rail. Walton Hanover as they head to the far turn. Coming around the far turn, Guts drives on to take the lead as they round the turn. Butler BG from the outside, Walton Hanover down on the inside. Then it's King Towner alongside the rail. On the Road Again from the outside, moving up as they swing around the turn and coming by the quarter mile. First quarter, 27-2 as they come down past the grandstand and heading to the clubhouse turn. Guts is the leader and setting the pace. Walton Hanover is second. On the Road Again is moved up to be third from the outside. Butler BG is fourth on the rail. Then it's Troublemaker from the outside. King Towner alongside the rail. Present Laughter from the outside. BARMBRO Cadet as they swing around the clubhouse turn. They're coming up on the half mile. And it's Guts with the lead as they head into the backstretch. Then On the Road Again from the outside next. The half in 57 seconds as they head to the backstretch. And as they head down the backstretch, the arch rivals, Guts on the inside, On the Road Again from the outside. Then Walton Hanover alongside the rail. Then from the outside, Troublemaker as they head on down the backstretch. Now it's On the Road Again, gaining the lead as they head to the far turn. On the Road Again's the leader as they near the 3/4 mile. That's Troublemaker moving up from the outside as they head around the turn. 3/4, 1 minute, 26 seconds. And coming around the turn, On the Road Again has the lead. Troublemaker from the outside. Then Guts down on the inside. BARMBRO Cadet from the far outside. As they come around the turn to the head of the stretch and they're driving toward the finish, Troublemaker has taken the lead from the outside. Coming down the stretch toward the finish. As they come down the stretch, Troublemaker is the leader now as they come down the stretch. Then Guts from the outside. And coming to the finish, Troublemaker in front at the finish. Then it's It's Guts second, and here they are. Time of 1 minute 55 and 2, and that will break the 3-year-old record for Colts. As we mentioned, 157 and 1 was the quickest time previously. The hometown favorites on the road again had the lead for a bit, but faded in the stretch. And the winner is unofficially Troublemaker with the 4-horse Guts second, with the number 8-horse BARMBRO Cadet third. The 8-horse, a bit of a long shot, the 7-horse on the road again, finishing fourth again at 155 and 2/5.
Thank you, Larry Ross, our track announcer. There again, Troublemaker with the $8 million man in the bike. Bill O'Donnell, boy, he's come to Edmonton and made a big run at it here. It was Guts early, but let's pick it up on the stretch run as Troublemaker took command.
Well, I'll tell you, the way this race developed was a tremendous surprise. First, Guts going out to the lead, which he never does. Dropped back on the road again, looked like he was home free, but he just didn't have it, fading badly in the stretch. And you can see Buddy Gilmour here knows his horse doesn't have it anymore. He's encouraging him. He knows he doesn't have it. Bill O'Donnell, on the other hand, looks back, knows he's got everything. He isn't touching the horse. Well, keep him awake there. But a very, very easy victory. This is the perfect example of the hot horse coming off the big win at Roosevelt.
Well, George Siegel of Highland Park, Illinois, the owner of Troublemakers, along with Bill O'Donnell, the driver, and many more in the winner's circle with our Kenny Rice, as we'll continue with more of the Breeders' Crown in a moment.
And welcome back to Edmonton, and the winner of this 3-year-old Colt Pace is Troublemaker, driven by Bill O'Donnell. Congratulations, Bill.
Thank you very much, Ken.
We talked earlier today, and a lot of the drivers were talking about this win factor and looking for cover early. Were you surprised to see that Guts, a horse that normally likes to lay back a little bit, going out for the lead right off?
Well, not really. You know, we had a bunch of trailers. There was 3 trailers, and where was he going to go if he took back? He'd have got away 7th or 8th. So, you know, he did the only thing he could do.
What was your thinking now with Troublemaker, who's been a hot horse coming into the day?
He's come into this race real good, and I got a real good trip, so I got no complaints at all. I had a good feeling about him, and Gene Regal said he trained real well and come out of the last race good, so.
Let's take a look now at things as we shape up at the 3/4 mark. You begin to make your move. What were you thinking right here? Did you think you pretty much had the race the way that you wanted it, that you'd taken the cover and you'd had everything set up as you come to the stretch?
Well, I had used him pretty good, even though it was following cover. You know, we were over there good, and up the backside, we were really patient, fast, and you know, even when I got the front, I kept chasing him. You know, I was scared he was going to just pack her in because he's a real lazy horse when he gets off by himself. And, you know, he kept going right to the wire, though.
Looked easy at the finish.
Well, he had all he wanted, but, you know, you got to keep at him and keep him awake, you know.
You turned in a 156. Time surprised you today?
Real good mile.
Real good mile.
Really good mile.
Real good day for you. Congratulations on this win. 4 on the day for you, Bill O'Donnell. Let's go back up top now to Sam.
Thank you, Kenny. Well, the battle between Guts and On the Road again materialized early, but it was Troublemaker that was a fly in the ointment. And as the Breeders' Crown 3-year-old pacing winner here at Edmonton, we'll be back with more after this.
With me now, the winning trainer of Troublemaker, Gene Regal. Congratulations. He was coming off a big victory at Roosevelt. You felt he was ready for today.
Yes, we did. The horse warmed up good. Bill said he was strong today, and so we used that in the background. He was good last week.
A lot of people were talking the track was certainly fast, but it was also a very cool day up here, and also the wind was blowing, but you turned in a track record for a 3-year-old of 156. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, kind of the day, the way Salute and them horses only went 58 in a piece. I thought maybe around 58 was all this race would go today.
Bill said the cover ran out a little bit around the 3/4 marks. He was coming back around. He saw it wide open. Looked like he had a lot of horse at the finish.
Right, he did. He opened up on him in the stretch, and he looked great today.
I know everyone's happy back in Illinois.
That's right.
Congratulations, Gene.
Thank you.
Gene Regal, he is the trainer of Troublemaker. Troublemaker, the winner here, this 3-year-old Colt Pace in the Breeders' Crown. Sam?
Sure, and I guess when you take a look at the Glamour division, you'd have to say it's still pretty much wide open as far as who's the best.
Well, it's a 3-horse race now for the championship among the 3-year-old pacing colts. I think On the Road Again may have paced himself out of Horse of the Year, Harness Horse of the Year honors. It might be between Mr. Dalray and Aged Pacer. They're not included this year in the series, and maybe Fancy Crown, the 3-year-old trotting filly.
Well, there you see Troublemaker, who's the winner here this afternoon. There is more still to come on our Breeders' Crown as we'll be moving to aged Maywood Park in Chicago. That'll be on Friday, October the 19th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The 2-year-old filly pacers will go at it, and we'll be there to bring you all of the excitement. And Sharon, it looks like it could be another great night for us.
It's a very competitive division, too. We're seeing a lot of that this year. Steinem will be there. She's likely to be the favorite in this race. She's been second in several major races. She's won a couple. Amneris is going to be there. Now, this filly is the fastest 2-year-old trotting filly filly in history. She trotted a mile in 1:53.1 this summer. Between the two of them, they should do some awfully fast trotting. It's a good field apart from them as well, and they are two of the top 3 two-year-old trotting, or pacing fillies rather, in the country. So that should be a good race, these filly pacers.
Well, it'll be a fun one on Friday night coming up on ESPN as Troublemaker once again wins the Breeders' Crown here in Edmonton. For Sharon Smith and Kenny Rice, this is Sam Smith saying so long, everybody, from Edmonton, Alberta. The Breeders' Crown on ESPN has been brought to you by hardworking Chevy trucks. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. U.S. Air, the airlines that offer over 1,000 flights every business day to more than 90 cities across North America.